The morning air was thick with tension at Sentinel K9 training base. Nestled in a secluded area far from the chaos of the city. This state-of-the-art facility was home to some of the most advanced K9 training programs, specializing in preparing dogs and their handlers for the most dangerous and critical missions. Today, Emily Dawson, the head trainer, stood at the front of the training grounds, watching her canine partner, Shadow, demonstrate his agility and precision. Emily was a seasoned veteran in the world of K9 operations. Her calm demeanor and sharp instincts made her the perfect leader for the team at Sentinel K9. Her focus was unshakable as she observed Shadow, a German shepherd with unmatched speed and intelligence. Together, they formed a perfect team, each move synchronized as they took on a series of increasingly difficult obstacles. As Shadow completed another jump, Emily noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Her instincts told her something was wrong. She turned to Logan Hayes, the tactical commander, who had been overseeing the training session with her. He was scanning the horizon, his eyes narrowing as he too sensed the unease in the air. Before Logan could speak, a blaring siren cut through the air, signaling an emergency. Cole Bennett, the tech specialist, was already at his station, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he monitored the security systems. "We've got a problem," Cole said, his voice tense. "There's a convoy of unidentified vehicles heading toward the main gate." Logan immediately began to analyze the situation, pulling up maps and satellite feeds. "It's too coordinated," he muttered, his face grim. "This isn't a random attack. We're being targeted." Emily didn't hesitate. "Everyone, get to your positions, now," she ordered. Her voice rang out clear and commanding, snapping everyone into action. She knew that Sentinel K9 was the last line of defense. And if this was truly an organized assault, they would need to be ready. As the team mobilized, Marcus Navarro, the sharpshooter, and Ryan Mitchell, the assault specialist, quickly set up their positions to cover the incoming vehicles. Jessica Lane, the medic, prepared her first aid kit, knowing that injuries were inevitable. The dogs, Shadow, Rex, and Titan, were unleashed, their training kicking in as they assumed defensive stances, ready to assist wherever necessary. The convoy was closing in fast. The ground vibrated beneath their feet as the heavily armored vehicles approached the main gate. The sound of gunfire erupted as the enemy opened fire, aiming for the entrance. The attackers had come prepared, and their assault was relentless. Emily gave the command for the team to engage. Marcus fired first, his aim true as he took out one of the enemy's tire treads. Ryan, working in tandem with Marcus, fired off a few rounds, forcing the enemy to retreat into a nearby structure. But despite their quick response, the attackers had the upper hand. The heavy machine guns mounted on their vehicles unleashed a storm of bullets, raining down on the base's defenses. The Sentinel K9 team was skilled, but they were now fighting an uphill battle against an enemy with superior firepower. Jessica moved quickly, treating the first of many injured soldiers, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. Logan and Cole huddled over their tactical displays, trying to make sense of the attack and figure out a way to turn the tide. "We need to neutralize those vehicles if we want to have a chance," Logan said, his jaw clenched. He turned to Emily, who was already formulating a plan. "I'll take the lead," she said, determination in her eyes. "Shadow and I will get close enough to disable their vehicle. We can't afford to wait for backup." As Emily and Shadow prepared to move, Marcus and Ryan continued to provide covering fire, pinning down the enemy as best as they could. Cole quickly ran diagnostic checks on the facility's defenses, hoping to find a weakness in the enemy's assault that they could exploit. But it wasn't just the weapons they had to worry about. The enemy had a clear tactical advantage, and their ability to advance despite taking heavy fire showed they were highly trained. "Get ready, we need to move quickly," Emily barked as she and Shadow started to make their way toward the armored vehicle. The terrain was rough, and every step had to be calculated. Shadow's nose was to the ground, guiding Emily as they navigated through the chaos. The gunfire and explosions were deafening, but their focus remained unbroken. "We can do this," Emily muttered to herself as she and Shadow drew closer to the enemy vehicle. But she knew this mission was more dangerous than any they had faced before. If they didn't disable that vehicle, Sentinel K9 might fall, and the consequences would be devastating. The sound of gunfire echoed through the air as Emily Dawson and Shadow navigated through the chaos toward the enemy's armored vehicle. The ground was littered with debris from the initial assault, and the air was thick with smoke from the explosions. Every step was calculated, and every movement was made in sync with Shadow's instincts. Emily kept her eyes focused on the target. She could hear the heavy thrum of the enemy's gunfire and see the flashes of light as bullets ripped through the air. But nothing would stop her. "Stay close, Shadow," she muttered under her breath. The bond between them was unshakable, built over years of training and shared experiences. As they reached the edge of the vehicle, Emily ducked behind a pile of debris and motioned for Shadow to stay low. She scanned the armored vehicle for any weak spots, her mind racing through every option she had. The sound of heavy machine gun fire from the vehicle grew louder. But Emily and Shadow pressed on, relying on the chaos to cover their advance. Meanwhile, Marcus Navarro, the sharpshooter, had positioned himself at a high vantage point with a clear line of sight. He'd already taken out several of the enemy's perimeter guards, but the armored vehicle was still a major threat. "I've got your back, Emily," he said through the comms, his voice calm but focused. Ryan Mitchell, the assault specialist, had already moved into position, using the terrain to his advantage. He fired from behind cover, his shots accurate and deliberate, forcing the enemy to duck and regroup. His eyes locked onto Emily and Shadow, nodding as she signaled for the next move. On the ground below, Cole Bennett was busy analyzing the armored vehicle's weaknesses. He had a small handheld device that could interfere with the vehicle's electronics. But it was risky. "I can try to disable their communications and weapons systems," Cole said over the comms. "But I need a clear shot at the engine." Logan Hayes, the tactical commander, quickly assessed the battlefield. He had a full view of the situation from the command center, coordinating the movements of each team member. "Emily, we'll cover you as best we can. Focus on disabling the vehicle. We need to make them retreat." Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded. "Understood." She turned to Shadow, who was crouched beside her, ready to strike. "It's up to us now." In one swift motion, Emily and Shadow sprinted forward, using the cover of a nearby explosion to mask their movement. The armored vehicle was just ahead, its heavy gunfire pouring into the base's defenses. Marcus fired a few more rounds, creating a small window of opportunity for Emily and Shadow to get closer. As they reached the vehicle, Cole signaled for Marcus to take a shot at the side panel. Hitting the weak spot just above the wheel, the armored vehicle jerked slightly, a puff of smoke billowing from the engine. "That's it," Cole exclaimed through the comms. "We've got a breach." Emily immediately took advantage of the opening, with Shadow leading the way. She sprinted toward the exposed side of the vehicle. "Get ready, Shadow," she whispered. Shadow lunged, biting down on the exposed engine compartment, his teeth gripping tight. Emily followed closely, using her combat knife to disable the vehicle's communication lines. The vehicle's engine sputtered and came to a halt, the once imposing threat now rendered useless. The mercenaries inside the vehicle scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Ryan and Marcus had already taken positions to neutralize the remaining enemy soldiers on the ground, picking them off one by one. "We're taking control," Logan reported from the command center, his voice full of resolve. "Keep pushing, everyone." The attackers, now disoriented and leaderless, began to retreat. Without their main weapon, they were at a severe disadvantage. Emily, still with Shadow by her side, moved forward to clear the remaining mercenaries who were trying to escape. Ryan and Jessica Lane provided cover, using their combined training to disable any stragglers attempting to flee. Jessica was moving swiftly through the chaos, treating the wounded while also defending the perimeter. She worked with precision, ensuring that everyone under her care remained stable while still keeping an eye on the retreating attackers. As the final mercenaries were rounded up or neutralized, Logan issued a command for a full sweep of the area. The assault was officially over, and Sentinel K9 training base had successfully repelled the attack. But as Emily surveyed the battlefield, her mind was already turning. "That was too easy. Something doesn't add up," she muttered, her gaze shifting from the captured mercenaries to the remains of the armored vehicle. She turned to Logan, who was standing beside her, taking in the same details. "You're right," Logan agreed. "This wasn't a random attack. They had inside information. Someone tipped them off. The realization hit hard. The battle was over, but the true fight was just beginning. Emily and her team had won this battle, but a far greater threat loomed on the horizon. In the aftermath of the attack, Sentinel K9 training base was in a state of controlled chaos. The team had successfully repelled the mercenary assault, but the victory felt hollow. Emily Dawson stood in the command center, surrounded by her most trusted team members, Logan Hayes, Cole Bennett, Marcus Navarro, Ryan Mitchell, and Jessica Lane. The attack had been too coordinated, too precise. Emily knew they weren't dealing with ordinary criminals. There had been no doubt in her mind, their enemies had inside information. Someone within Sentinel K9 had betrayed them. "We need answers," Emily said, her voice low but urgent. She looked around at her team. "I want everyone to go over every piece of intel. Check the systems, check the logs, and check each other's backstories." Someone here helped them. Logan Hayes, ever the tactician, spoke up. "It's possible they've been feeding them information for weeks, even months. We need to find out who had access to our schedules, to our training protocols." He glanced at Cole, who was already at his station, pulling up the security feeds from the past few weeks. Cole Bennett scrolled through the video files, his face becoming more tense with each passing second. "I found something," he muttered. His eyes were glued to the screen, his fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. There was a signal, a beacon, coming from inside the base a few days before the attack. It was a low-frequency message, hidden in plain sight. "What kind of message?" Emily asked, her tone sharp. "It was a command signal, directing the attackers to certain parts of the compound." Cole replied, "It's clear now, this wasn't a random attack. Whoever helped them knew exactly where our weak points were." Marcus Navarro, the sharpshooter, leaned in. "So we're dealing with a mole. Someone who's been feeding them information for a long time." Emily's eyes narrowed. "We have to find out who it is before they can strike again." The team began working in overdrive, running background checks on all personnel. Jessica Lane, the medic, was tasked with reviewing all medical logs from the past few months, while Ryan Mitchell and Marcus began tracking down any suspicious activity in the base. They were all determined to uncover the identity of the traitor. Meanwhile, Emily stood outside the command center, staring out at the training grounds. Shadow, her K9 partner, sat beside her, sensing her unease. Emily had always trusted her instincts, and they were telling her that something far more dangerous was at play than a simple attack. Back inside, Cole was still analyzing the signals, when he suddenly froze. "Got it," he said, his voice tense. "I found a match. One of our tech specialists, Tyler Reed, was the one who sent the signal. He has access to all our communications and security systems." Emily's heart sank. She had trusted Tyler. He had been with the team for almost a year. "Where is he now?" she demanded. "He's not in his quarters. His badge was scanned just outside the perimeter an hour ago." Cole replied, "I think he's gone. Find him, now." Emily barked. The team scrambled into action. Logan coordinated the search, sending Marcus and Ryan to track down Tyler. Jessica remained behind, making sure that any wounded personnel were treated and stable. Cole kept digging into the records, hoping to find some clue that would lead them to Tyler. As the hours passed, the urgency intensified. Marcus and Ryan scoured the perimeter of the base, their eyes trained on any movement. They found no sign of Tyler, but they did find something troubling. Footprints leading away from the base, toward the thick woods that bordered the facility. "He's running," Marcus said, his voice tight. "We need to catch him before he disappears." Emily immediately made the decision. "Get in the vehicle. We're going after him." She didn't hesitate, her team already moving into action. Ryan and Marcus took the lead, with Emily and Shadow close behind. They drove down the narrow road leading into the woods, their headlights cutting through the darkness. The tension was thick, every moment feeling like the calm before the storm. As they neared a clearing in the woods, they saw him, a figure moving swiftly through the trees. "There he is," Ryan shouted. "Stop the car." The vehicle screeched to a halt. Emily and Shadow jumped out, quickly chasing after Tyler. He was fast, but Shadow was faster. The K9 darted ahead, his senses locked onto the scent of the fugitive. Tyler knew he was caught. With a panicked glance over his shoulder, he reached for a concealed weapon. Emily was faster. She tackled him to the ground, disarming him in a swift motion. "It's over, Tyler," she said, her voice cold as she handcuffed him. As Tyler was subdued, the full scope of the betrayal began to sink in. Emily and her team had trusted him, but he had been working for the enemy the entire time. The chill of the night air bit at Emily Dawson as she stood in front of Tyler Reed, the man who had betrayed Sentinel K9 training base. Her heart was heavy with the weight of the decision she had made, trusting someone who had been a part of their team, only to have him betray them in such a dangerous way. With Tyler securely handcuffed in the back of the vehicle, Emily motioned for Ryan Mitchell and Marcus Navarro to begin the interrogation. She needed answers. Why had Tyler turned against them? What was the larger plan behind this attack? But deep down, she already knew that there was more to this than just a single mole in the ranks. Back at the base, Logan Hayes and Cole Bennett began piecing together the information they had gathered. Cole had spent the last few hours reviewing Tyler's communications, and it didn't take long for him to confirm the worst. Tyler wasn't just acting on his own, he had been working for a larger, more dangerous group, one with global reach. They were known only as the Coalition, a shadowy organization that operated in the dark corners of the criminal underworld. The attack wasn't just to steal information, Cole said, his voice grave. They were testing the base. If they can break through Sentinel K9, they'll be able to infiltrate other high-security installations. Emily felt a knot tighten in her chest. This wasn't just about protecting Sentinel K9 anymore. The safety of the entire nation could be at stake. "We need to take the fight to them," Logan said, slamming his fist onto the table. "If the Coalition is behind this, we can't sit back and wait for them to come to us again. We need to eliminate the threat." Emily stood tall, her resolve unwavering. "We're going after them. No more waiting. Ryan, Marcus, and I will lead the way. Cole, Jessica, and Logan, you'll be on comms and providing support. Let's end this." With the plan in place, Emily and her team prepared for the final phase of the mission. Shadow, Rex, and Titan were ready, their eyes gleaming with anticipation as they lined up with their handlers. The destination was clear. The Coalition had set up a hidden base of operations in an old industrial complex, miles outside the city. Emily knew it was a risk to go in so quickly, but she also knew that if they didn't act now, they'd be giving the Coalition a chance to regroup and strike again. The time for caution had passed. The team moved swiftly, driving in 2 tactical vehicles, their headlights cutting through the night. The air was thick with tension, and Emily could feel the weight of the upcoming confrontation settling on her shoulders. Shadow sat in the front seat beside her, sensing her anxiety. The bond between handler and dog had never been more important. When they reached the industrial complex, Ryan and Marcus immediately went to work, setting up perimeter defenses while Emily, Logan, and Cole made their way toward the building. The site was eerily quiet, the only sound being the distant hum of machinery that had long since stopped working. "We move fast, we move quiet," Emily whispered into her comms, giving her team the final orders before they breached the facility. With a deep breath, Emily and Ryan led the charge, kicking down the door with precision. Inside, the team encountered a small group of armed guards, but Marcus was quick to neutralize them with deadly accuracy. The team moved with practiced efficiency, knowing exactly where they needed to go. As they reached the heart of the facility, they encountered a locked door, one that led to a central control room where the Coalition's leaders were likely operating. Cole worked quickly, using his tech skills to hack into the system, overriding the security protocols. The door opened with a soft click, revealing the heart of the Coalition's operation. Inside, they found Victor Delgado, the mastermind behind the attacks. Victor was sitting at a large desk, surrounded by maps and documents, completely unaware that his time had run out. "It's over, Victor," Emily said coldly, stepping into the room, her gun trained on him. Victor slowly looked up, his expression one of surprise but not fear. "You think this ends here? You think you've won?" he sneered. "This is just the beginning. The Coalition is vast. You've only scratched the surface." Emily stepped closer, her grip tightening on her weapon. "It ends now. The Coalition is finished, and you're going to pay for everything you've done." Victor made one final attempt to reach for a hidden weapon, but before he could act, Shadow lunged, knocking it from his hand and holding him down. Marcus moved in quickly, securing Victor in handcuffs. Ryan, with his usual calm, stepped forward. "No more games. It's over. Victor." With Victor Delgado captured, the mission was a success. The team had dismantled the coalition's local operation. But Emily knew that the battle was far from over. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next," she said to her team as they exited the building. As they returned to Sentinel K9 training base, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. The threat had been eliminated, for now. But there were always more dangers lurking in the shadows. "We did it," Logan said, his voice proud but wary. "But this is just the beginning." Emily nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes, it is. But we'll be ready. Always."